You're tuned in to The Deep Dive, and today we're diving into something a lot of you grapple with. Speaking English faster. You can maybe understand movies, podcasts, even complex stuff, but when it comes to actually speaking, it feels like you're stuck in slow-mo sometimes.
Yeah, that feeling. It's super common. We hear about it all the time.
Right. Pausing a lot,
Yeah.
searching for words, doing that mental translation thing. Does that sound familiar?
Absolutely. That gap between just understanding and really speaking fluently at a natural pace, it can be pretty significant for learners.
Exactly. And that's why today we're doing a deep dive into the story of Emma Carter. Now, Emma moved to the U.S. from Argentina at 16, so she lived this firsthand.
Okay.
She noticed right away how fast people talked, just in everyday chats, and she really struggled to keep up.
Right. That casual conversation speed can be tough.
Totally. So our goal here isn't about some quick fix, but really digging into the actual strategies, the mindset shifts that helped Emma go from being a slower, kind of hesitant speaker to someone fluent and fast.
Yeah, our mission is to unpack her journey, really look at what worked, what she learned, so that you, listening right now, can get some practical ideas, things you can actually use to speak faster and, feel more confident about it.
Okay, so let's get into Emma's story. Her early days in the U.S., even with family support, it was tough. She mentioned feeling like an outsider, mainly because of the language, missing all those quick, casual phrases, stuff native speakers just toss around.
Yeah, the idioms, the slang, the way sentences connect, it's hard to catch at first.
She talked about this one presentation in English class, feeling like incredibly slow, almost robotic, she said.
Oof, I can imagine.
And that embarrassment, it really hit home for her, that understanding English and speaking it fast. They're just two different skill sets.
That's a key realization, feeling left out, noticing that difference between knowing the words and actually using them quickly.
Yeah.
That often lights the fire, It was the first step for her.
Definitely. And her first big strategy, she called it her listening revolution.
Ooh, I like the sound of that.
Yeah. But it wasn't just like having English on in the background. It was active, really tuning in.
Okay, so more focused.
Right. She consciously shifted, stopped just trying to get the meaning, and started listening, almost like a little kid does, focusing on how natural, fast English actually sounds.
Interesting. Where did she find this material?
YouTube mostly. She specifically mentioned channels about, like, teen life in the U.S., stuff with real, everyday chat, the fast conversations you don't get in textbooks.
That makes sense. Authentic material. And it's the intentionality there that's fascinating, right? She wasn't just listening for words.
Yeah.
She was listening to the rhythm, the speed, how words kind of blend together, all those little things that make speech sound natural and quick.
Yeah, she really keyed into that flow.
And our brains are amazing pattern detectors. You listen like that, you start to internalize those rhythms without even realizing it sometimes.
Totally. And she had this specific method, too.
Yeah.
Repeated viewing. First time watching a video, just get the main idea. Second time, pause after sentences, try to repeat them.
Standard practice.
But she said the real game changer was shadowing.
Yes.
Shadowing.
Speaking along with the video in real time, trying to match everything, the speed, the tone. She even said the breathing.
Wow, that's detailed.
Yeah, she said it changed everything, like physical training almost, for her mouth and tongue.
It's such a powerful technique because it directly connects hearing to speaking. You're not just processing audio.
Right.
You're engaging the motor cortex, the part of your brain controlling movement.
Yeah.
By mimicking native speakers, you're basically building those muscle memories, those pathways for fluent speech.
Bypassing the translation step.
Exactly, making it more automatic.
Okay, another thing she did daily, recording herself.
Ooh, brave. That can feel awkward.
She admitted it, said it felt super weird at first. She'd take little clips, maybe from a podcast or a video, and try to replicate them exactly. Same speed, flow, intonation.
But over time, she actually started hearing the difference. Her words started coming out smoother.
That's the key benefit. Recording yourself, then listening back critically, it gives you this objective feedback.
You hear things you don't notice otherwise.
Right. Your hesitations, the pauses, where your rhythm is maybe a bit off compared to the native speaker. It forces self-awareness.
And then there was this super simple technique, talking to herself.
Self-talk. Underrated.
Totally. She'd literally stand in front of the mirror and just narrate her day in English. Okay, making coffee now. Got to check my emails.
Just everyday stuff.
Yeah, but saying it out loud helped her start thinking directly in English, responding faster in her head without that translation delay.
It creates this like zero pressure practice zone. You can just try out words, string sentences together without worrying about someone else listening. It really helps bridge that gap from thinking in your native language to thinking in English.
Of course, eventually you got to talk to actual people.
The real test.
Right. Emma knew it was crucial, even though it was pretty daunting. So she joined this club, International Voices of UT.
Okay, good move.
It was a mix, international students learning English, but also some native English speakers just interested in other cultures.
Oh, that's a great mix. Creates opportunities for real, authentic chat. And being around other learners can lower that anxiety about making mistakes, right? It's often a more supportive vibe.
Definitely. And she met this guy there, Marcus. Native speaker from Atlanta, apparently spoke pretty fast.
Ah, a challenge.
But he was really cool about it. He actually slowed down for her at first, consciously, let her ear adjust.
That's fantastic support.
Yeah, and then gradually, almost without her noticing, he'd speed up a bit. It really helped her adapt to that faster pace naturally without feeling totally lost.
That just shows how important patient conversation partners are. Someone aware of your learning journey who can kind of scaffold the speed like that. Huge difference for confidence and just getting used to the natural rhythm.
Okay, shifting gears a bit, she also used speed drills. For fun, mostly.
Like what?
Tongue twisters.
Ah, the classics. She sells seashells.
Exactly. That one, how much wood would a woodchuck chuck? She'd time herself, try to say them faster and clearer each day.
It sounds fun, but it's actually really good exercise for your mouth, right?
Right.
Your tongue, lips, jaw, it makes them more agile.
Yeah, trains the muscles for smoother, faster speech.
Better articulation. Yeah, it all helps.
And then she had this moment she called a real breakthrough.
Okay.
Her friend Ashley, a native speaker, just casually said something like, "Wow, your English sounds so fast and natural now. You sound like you grew up here."
Well, that must have felt amazing.
Totally. Emma said it wasn't just about the language skill itself, but finally feeling like she truly belonged, like she could connect properly.
That emotional payoff is huge. Feeling understood, accepted. It validates all the hard work and really motivates you to keep going.
And she did keep going. She didn't just, rest on her laurels. Kept practicing, learning new phrases.
Always learning.
Right. And then something interesting happened. She started sharing her methods with other students who were struggling like she had.
Paying it forward.
Yeah, and those informal sessions. They eventually turned into a more organized group she called Rapid Talkers UT.
Rapid Talkers UT, I like it. And that's often how mastery develops, isn't it? Teaching others forces you to understand things even more deeply.
Definitely. And this group, Rapid Talkers UT, it really took off.
Yeah.
Emma started inviting guest speakers. People known for speaking fast but clearly, like a local radio host, Carlos Vega from KUTX.
Oh, cool. Bringing in real-world examples.
Yeah, and they did all sorts of drills. Question storm, one person fires questions, the other answers super fast.
Builds quick thinking.
Dialogue dash, practicing short scripts, getting faster each time.
Improves flow.
They even had accent adventure nights, just playing with different accents to train their ears.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Targeting different fluency skills, response time, rhythm, comprehension, adaptability. Very well-rounded.
It got so much attention that her communication studies professor asked her to demo her methods in class.
Wow.
Yeah, the students, the professor, Dr. Patel, they were really impressed. Dr. Patel actually suggested she should think about doing campus workshops or even like publishing her methods.
That's huge validation from academia. That kind of encouragement can really propel things forward.
And she ran with it.
Yeah.
Took an internship at a nonprofit, Language Bridges. Proposed a speed English program based on her stuff.
And they went for it.
Totally enthusiastic.
Right.
Soon she was leading sessions for teenagers, adults. She told this story about one woman, Mrs. Numian, from Vietnam. Struggled with a tongue twister at first, but by the end of the session, she nailed it at full speed. And Mrs. Numian said it made her feel alive in English for the first time.
Oh, wow. That's powerful. It just shows the impact, right?
Yeah.
Overcoming that barrier, achieving that fluency. It affects confidence, participation, everything.
It really does. And this momentum led her to organize a big campus event.
The Fast English Festival.
A whole festival. Yeah. Huge success. They had booths for speed drills, live shadowing stations with native speakers, even an open mic for rapid one-minute talks.
Nice.
Emma kicked it off with a super fast welcome speech. The whole vibe was about embracing speed, not being scared of it.
Creating that kind of community event is so good.
Yeah.
It normalizes the struggle, celebrates progress, and just makes it feel less intimidating and more fun. Builds connections.
Absolutely. And by the end of all this, countless hours teaching, practicing,
Yeah,
her own speaking speed had jumped dramatically.
I bet.
But she emphasized the biggest change, her confidence. She stopped second-guessing every single word, started trusting her instincts more. The words just flowed.
And that's often how it works. Speed increases as a natural result of better fluency and, crucially, higher confidence. When you're comfortable, the words just come out faster.
Okay, so let's dig into some of what she called her secret techniques.
Ooh, secret.
One was consciously connecting emotions to English words. She would actually act out emotions while practicing phrases, like saying, "Why did you do that?" with real anger, or "Oh my goodness, that's incredible," with genuine excitement.
Ah, interesting. Training the brain and mouth to express feelings quickly, naturally in English.
Exactly.
That's clever because emotion and speech are so tightly linked. When you feel it, your voice, your body language, it all gets more expressive, often faster.
Oh.
Linking emotions to the English phrases makes it feel more authentic, less like just reciting words.
Made it less intellectual, more embodied. Another key thing for her, repetition.
The old classic. Can feel boring sometimes.
She knew, but she understood how fundamental it is for building that muscle memory for language.
Absolutely.
She said she repeated simple sentences like, "Hi, my name is Emma, and I'm learning to speak English fast," like hundreds of times.
Sounds basic, but effective.
Yeah. Especially for things like introductions in real life. The words just came out automatically, no hesitation.
Repetition is absolutely key for making language automatic. Practice makes phrases easy to grab from long-term memory, uses less brain power when you actually speak, frees you up to think about what you're saying.
She also tackled the fear factor head-on. The fear of making mistakes.
Ah, the big one. That slows so many people down.
Right. She realized most people just want to understand you. They're not sitting there grading your grammar.
Generally, no. Communication is the goal.
Her advice, just speak. Even if you know it won't be perfect, the more you do it, the faster you get, naturally. And confidence comes from doing, not from waiting until you're flawless.
That mental shift is critical. Seeing mistakes as learning opportunities, not failures. The fear can be paralyzing. Embracing errors as feedback and just keeping talking, that's essential for fluency and speed.
And to prep for real situations, she practiced common dialogues. Out loud, at home.
Smart. Like what?
Ordering food, asking for directions. "Hi, can I get a medium pizza with extra cheese?" Things like that.
Rehearsing the common stuff.
Yeah, run through them again and again. So when you're actually there, you don't freeze up. You can respond faster, more naturally.
Targeted practice for specific scenarios. It builds familiarity, reduces anxiety. You're basically preloading useful phrases, making them easier to access under pressure.
She also used a speed talk challenge.
Okay, what's that?
Pick a topic, set a timer just 1 minute, and talk continuously. No stopping, no translating in your head. Don't overthink grammar.
Just keep talking, even if you stumble.
Exactly. Keep going to the timer dings. Then listen back, maybe try again, aiming for better flow, faster pace.
What kind of topics did she suggest?
Simple stuff, practical things, your daily routine, weekend plans, opinion on a movie you saw, easy things to talk about.
That's a great drill. Pushes you to produce language spontaneously under pressure. Forces you to prioritize just getting the message out over perfection. Key for speed.
And one final big realization for her, focusing too much on applying grammar rules while speaking. It was slowing her down a lot.
Ah, the grammar trap.
Yeah. So she deliberately shifted, started learning grammar more passively
Oh.
by listening to and repeating real, authentic English examples. Instead of analyzing verb tenses while trying to talk, she'd just hear how a native speaker said it correctly and repeat it, trusting her brain to just absorb the patterns over time.
Like kids learn their first language.
Exactly.
That fits with a more communicative approach, right? Focus on getting your meaning across effectively, not on being grammatically perfect every second, especially when speaking. Immerse yourself, focus on communication, and you often internalize the grammar better, more intuitively anyway.
So Emma's final message is really quite encouraging. She basically says you probably already have what you need.
Which is
Consistency, courage to just speak, and finding ways to make it fun. She really pushes making English part of your daily life.
integrating it.
Yeah. Watch shows, talk to friends, think in English, sing along to songs. Whatever works.
Yeah.
Just constant exposure and active use, not treating it like some separate subject you only study sometimes.
That integration makes the learning continuous, organic, and way more effective in the long run.
And her story didn't stop there. She actually went on to get a master's in applied linguistics.
Wow. Really leaned into it.
Yeah, wanted to write a proper guidebook about speaking faster. Her big vision, rapid talkers, chapters in universities, language centers, like all over the world.
That's ambition. Her dedication to understand the why behind language learning and sharing what worked for her is really inspiring. Shows her own success was just the start.
And that vision started happening. Rapid Talkers UT went virtual, online chapters popped up internationally.
Cool.
And she even developed a VR app, Speakscape.
Virtual reality for language practice.
Yeah, immersive, interactive practice in simulated real-life situations.
That's cutting edge. Using tech like VR for realistic practice, big step forward. Offers practice that feels real, but in a safe space.
Her book eventually got published, got a great reception. She did a book tour, workshops, all sorts. Actors needing accent work, tech people doing global business, even elderly learners, which just shows, it's never too late.
Absolutely. That range of people just highlights how universal that desire for confident communication is. Her techniques clearly resonated widely.
She shared this great story, got a message from someone in Sao Paulo, Brazil, who'd used her stuff and boosted their speaking speed massively.
That must feel good.
Yeah. And Emma herself kept pushing. She even did an improv theater camp to get even better at spontaneous, fast English responses.
Still learning, still growing. That's a great example of lifelong learning. Shows she really lives what she teaches.
The Fast English Festival became a hybrid event online and in person, more global reach. She talked about visiting her old uni dorm around that time, having a moment reflecting on how important those early struggles were.
That reflection is key. Appreciating the challenges you overcame. It fuels you, helps you connect with others still on that path.
And her next big idea, a speed exchange platform. Part VR app, part exchange program, connecting learners across time zones for live practice. She imagined themed virtual rooms for different scenarios.
Whoa! Facilitating live, collaborative practice globally. That's innovative. Builds skills and community.
Yeah. She even got invited to co-author an academic paper on fluency acquisition. They ran a pilot of the speed exchange platform, apparently. Participants love the connection, the fun of the rapid-fire practice.
Sounds like it has huge potential.
So just to recap some of Emma's key takeaways here. It really boils down to active listening, especially shadowing. That simple self-talk practice, pushing yourself into real conversations, even when it's scary.
Crucial step.
Using targeted speed drills, tongue twisters, the speed talk challenge, embracing mistakes, not fearing them.
Yes.
Practicing those real-life dialogues, and shifting focus, away from just perfect grammar towards fluent communication.
All really solid points. Her journey just makes it so clear. Speaking faster is a skill you can develop. It takes consistent effort, the right strategies, and the right mindset.
Definitely. So here's a final thought for you listening. Drawing inspiration from Emma's incredible journey, what's just one small doable step you can commit to today, right now, to start building your own speaking speed and confidence?
Could be anything.
Yeah, maybe try shadowing a short YouTube clip. Record yourself for just 60 seconds on a simple topic. Or just talk to yourself in English while making breakfast.
Find something small you can actually do.
Exactly. We really encourage you to explore these techniques Emma found so helpful. Think about how you can realistically weave one or two into your routine.
Because significant improvement really is possible.
Absolutely. It's within your reach. You definitely have the ability to hit your English speaking goals. You know that feeling? When you're pouring all this energy into learning something new. Feels like you're really trying, showing up every day. But you're just not seeing the progress you expected.
Oh, definitely. That climb feels endless sometimes.
Yeah, and you start wondering, is that aha moment ever actually going to, arrive?
It's such a common frustration, isn't it? That feeling that your effort isn't paying off right away, especially when something totally new.
Exactly. And, well, that's what we're really digging into today. We've got this collection of insights all about pushing through when learning feels like a real slog. Think of it as, I guess, a guide for navigating those times when maybe that initial excitement has worn off and you're just facing the challenge.
Right. And the material we're looking at really focuses on the internal stuff. What's going on in your head when you feel stuck.
Yeah.
And the strategies that can actually help you break through those plateaus. And sometimes understanding just clicks, kind of surprisingly. It's a good reminder, really, that feeling stagnant, it doesn't always mean you're doing something wrong.
No, exactly. It's like a shot of encouragement, but, based on how learning actually seems to work.
Hmm.
So what we want to get into today is, well, why do we feel stuck so often? And more importantly, what can we actually do about it?
What can you do to keep moving forward?
Yeah. Hopefully give you some practical ideas and maybe just a fresh perspective to keep that learning journey going.
Okay, so one of the first really fascinating ideas to think about is this. That feeling, that urge to just quit. It often shows up right before you're about to have a real breakthrough.
Huh. Okay, like a paradox.
Yeah, exactly. A growth paradox.
Okay, let's unpack that a bit, the growth paradox. Our sources use a great analogy here, actually. Think about starting a new workout. You push yourself, right? And then your muscles ache. It's uncomfortable, maybe even hurts a little.
Definitely feels like you're going backwards sometimes.
Right. But that discomfort, that ache, is actually your body adapting.
Yeah.
It's getting stronger, even though it doesn't feel like progress right then.
Precisely. And learning something complex, I mean, like English, for example, it can work in a very similar way. That feeling stalled, the frustration, it can actually be a sign your brain is really working hard.
Okay.
It's forming new connections, trying to make sense of all this new stuff. There's even some neuroscience suggesting these periods where you feel stuck are when the brain's busy consolidating information.
Consolidating, like putting things together behind the scenes.
Exactly, building stronger neural pathways. It's like building new roads in your brain to access information. Takes time. Lots of construction happens kind of under the surface before those roads are easy to drive on.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's not just gritting your teeth and pushing through. It's also trusting that, well, just because you can't see the results immediately doesn't mean nothing's happening inside.
Yes, exactly. Trusting the process.
We've got a really good example here, Mark. He'd been learning English for, about 6 months? Really diligent. Listening, watching videos, trying to read.
Putting in the hours.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
But he just felt like he was getting absolutely nowhere. Conversations still felt way too fast. Trying to speak was, well, a real struggle for him.
And that feeling, when effort doesn't seem to match results, it can be so disheartening.
Oh, yeah. He was seriously thinking about quitting. He even said to himself, like, maybe this just isn't for me. Maybe I've hit my limit. Does that sound familiar to anyone listening?
I bet it does.
But here's the kicker. He decided, okay, just keep going, even though it felt like hitting a brick wall. And then just a few weeks later, boom.
Things started to click.
Yeah. Suddenly he could follow conversations better. Speaking felt, well, more natural, less forced.
See, that struggle Mark went through, it wasn't a sign he was failing. It was probably that intense mental processing we talked about.
Right. All that effort was building the foundation.
Absolutely. The toughest part often comes just before things get easier, that breakthrough moment.
It's a powerful thing to remember, especially if you're listening and you're right in that frustrating stage now. Your progress might be closer than you think.
Definitely.
Okay, so another really key thing for getting through those tough patches is, well, just the simple act of trying again.
Yes, resilience, that ability to bounce back from setbacks. Our sources bring up Thomas Edison.
The light bulb guy, that classic story. Over 1,000 attempts, wasn't it?
Something like that, yeah. It's just incredible commitment.
It really is. And how he thought about those failures, that's the really interesting part.
He didn't see them as failures at all.
No. He said he'd found, 1,000 ways it didn't work.
It's such a shift in perspective, isn't it? Each attempt gave him valuable data, guided him closer to what did work. It makes you wonder, how often do we label our own little setbacks as total failures instead of just learning steps?
That's a really good question. And it connects straight to language learning mistakes, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Like when you try to say a word and it just comes out wrong. We've got examples here like caterpillar. Maybe sounding like caterpillar.
Or schedule becoming scub. Happens all the time.
Yeah. And it can feel a bit, embarrassing.
Of course. But these mispronunciations, they're completely normal. Every single learner makes them. The key thing is, how do you react?
Right. Do you let it shut you down?
Or do you see it as, okay, that wasn't quite right, let me try again? Valuable feedback.
Exactly. We have this story about Anna. She really, really struggled with the word through. Through.
Oh, that's a notoriously tricky one for many learners, that the sound, the vowel.
Yeah. It seemed like no matter how hard she tried, it just came out wrong. Like through
Yeah.
something else. She felt super self-conscious, thought she'd never get it.
I can imagine. That could be really frustrating.
But she didn't give up. She kept practicing, listened really closely to native speakers, focused on, how her tongue and mouth moved.
That persistence, even with one single stubborn word,
Yeah.
that's the power of one more try.
It really is. Because eventually, it paid off.
Yeah.
One day, she was just chatting, not even thinking about it, and through just came out perfectly.
Ah, that's brilliant.
It was a result of all those attempts, all that focused practice, finally embedding itself.
So the takeaway is, progress is often just sitting there, right beyond that next attempt. Don't let mistakes stop you. Each one is a step forward.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that leads us to another idea, which might sound a bit counterintuitive at first.
Yeah.
The strength in learning slowly.
Right. There's so much pressure, isn't there, to learn things fast.
Totally. We live in this world of instant everything, so we feel like learning should be a race too.
But our source material argues that, especially with something complex like language, taking your time can actually lead to, well, better, deeper learning in the long run.
So focusing on understanding deeply rather than just speed.
Exactly. Prioritizing that solid grasp over just covering ground quickly.
Okay, and we have David's experience here. His first year learning English, he mainly focused on input. Listening, watching, reading, absorbing it all.
Not rushing to speak.
No. And he felt like he was maybe progressing slower than some other people he knew.
But what he was doing was building this incredibly strong foundation, really immersing himself in the sounds, the structures, the nuances.
Exactly. He wasn't forcing output,
Yeah.
but he was developing this deep, intuitive understanding. And then,
Well, then in his second year, when he did start speaking more, he spoke with amazing clarity, confidence.
often better than those who'd rushed to speak earlier.
That's what the story suggests, yeah. His journey really shows that learning isn't a race. Taking time to build that solid base can lead to much greater fluency later on.
It's like building a house, isn't it? You need that strong foundation.
Precisely. You can't build a solid structure on shaky ground.
So if you're listening and feel like you're a slow learner, maybe reframe that. It might just mean you're building something really robust and long-lasting.
Could be a real strength.
Okay, shifting gears a little. The source material also talks about those unexpected breakthroughs.
Ah, yes, those aha moments. They seem to come out of nowhere sometimes.
They really do. It's like you've been wrestling with something, a word, a grammar point for ages, and then suddenly, pop, it just clicks.
It makes sense.
I actually had this happen myself. I remember struggling with the word encourage. E-N-C-O-U-R-A-G-E. For the longest time.
Okay.
I'd heard it, looked it up, tried using it, but it just wouldn't stick. It felt like my brain refused to hold on to it.
That is such a common feeling. A specific word just seems slippery no matter how many times you encounter it. Very perplexing.
Right. Honestly, it felt like this word was just blocked. Then one day, I was listening to something, a talk or a podcast, and someone used encourage. And this time, it was different.
How so?
It was like a light switched on. The meaning, the sound, the context, it all just suddenly made perfect sense. It finally landed.
And that personal story, it perfectly illustrates how all that consistent effort, even when it feels like nothing's happening, it is accumulating. Your brain is still processing, making connections, even subconsciously.
So it wasn't one big jump. It was the buildup from all the previous times I'd met the word.
Exactly. The culmination of all that exposure finally reached a tipping point.
Wow. Okay. So if you're stuck on something right now, trust that your brain is still working on it underneath. That breakthrough might be closer than you realize.
Keep putting in the reps, essentially.
Yeah. And speaking of small efforts, our source material really hammers home the importance of those tiny incremental steps.
This is so crucial for motivation, I think. And just for recognizing you are moving forward, it's easy to only see the huge mountain ahead.
Right, and forget the small steps you're taking. The analogy used is like walking up a really long staircase, but each step is almost invisibly small. On its own, one step feels like nothing. But you look back after a while and, wow, look how far you've climbed.
And in language learning, those steps could be learning just one new word or finally understanding a sentence that always confused you before.
Those are wins.
They absolutely are. And celebrating those small wins is incredibly important. They're proof of progress. They feed your motivation.
We have Maria's example here. She felt like she wasn't getting anywhere with her English after months of study. Just felt stuck.
That familiar feeling.
But when she actually stopped and sort of reviewed what she had learned, it turned out her vocabulary had grown quite a bit. Her understanding was definitely better.
Her confidence had probably grown too, even if she didn't feel fluent.
Exactly. She hadn't realized it because she was focused on the big picture, the end goal.
Yeah, we often focus on what we can't do yet and totally miss what we can now do.
So the practical advice here is track those small wins. Seriously.
Yeah.
Write them down. Tell someone, just acknowledge them yourself. Like, hey, I finally remembered how to spell beautiful. That's a win.
Celebrate it.
It helps you see the progress, keeps you going. And it reinforces that everyone learns at their own pace. Comparing yourself, usually not helpful.
Almost never helpful, I'd say. It just leads to discouragement.
True. And it's also really important to just normalize the struggle. It's okay to find it difficult.
Yes. Our source material really stresses this. It's easy to feel like you're the only one finding it hard, but struggle is just part of learning for everyone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You might look around and think everyone else is just breezing through it.
But the reality is, anyone learning anything new hits bumps in the road. Difficulties are normal. Even, native speakers sometimes stumble with their own language.
That's such a good point. Forgetting words, making spelling mistakes, getting grammar a bit tangled.
Mispronouncing words they don't use often. It happens.
Language is complex, so if people who've spoken it their whole lives still have tricky moments, it's definitely expected for learners.
We even hear about native English speakers moving to, say, Scotland or Australia and really struggling initially with the accents and local slang.
Right. So even with a strong base, new challenges pop up.
Right.
It just shows that difficulty isn't failure. It's usually a sign you're stretching yourself, pushing boundaries.
Which is where the growth happens.
Exactly. And when things do feel tough, connecting with other people who get it can be huge.
Oh, definitely. Learning doesn't have to be this lonely battle. Finding a community of other learners gives you support, shared experiences.
That feeling of, okay, it's not just me.
Precisely. Online forums, social media groups, language apps with communities. There are so many ways now.
Our source even mentions someone's personal experience practicing in a supportive group, how much that helped them feel less isolated.
Sharing the frustrations, but also celebrating the little wins together, it makes a big difference. That shared experience is validating.
Definitely gives you a boost. Now, while community is great external support, the source material also talks about inner strength, specifically discipline, especially when motivation dips.
Motivation, the million-dollar question. It's wonderful when you have it, that initial buzz.
Yeah, that energy when you start something new. But we all know it doesn't last, right? It comes and goes.
Like the tide, yeah. Up one day, down the next. Totally normal.
And that's where discipline kicks in.
Exactly. Discipline is, well, it's the ability to keep going even when you don't feel like it, when that initial excitement has faded.
It's about building habits.
Yeah.
Showing up consistently.
Yes. It's that commitment to the process, not just the feeling. There's a personal reflection in the source about studying English every day, even on the blah days.
The days you really don't want to.
Right. And how that consistent effort, even if it was just small bits, added up to real progress over time.
Consistency is king then.
Seems to be. It's not about massive effort every single day. It's about those small, regular actions building momentum, like setting a specific study time, even just 10-15 minutes.
Make it a non-negotiable habit.
Kind of, yeah. But also, be kind to yourself. If motivation really tanks one day, don't beat yourself up. The goal is not constant motivation, it's just not giving up entirely. Keep the habit alive, even minimally.
Right. Don't let one bad day derail everything. Now, to help maybe reignite some of that drive, the source talks about visualization.
Visualizing success, it's a powerful technique. Creating that vivid mental picture of yourself actually achieving your goal.
Used in sports, business, lots of areas.
And definitely useful for language learning. The idea is to picture yourself speaking English fluently.
Like imagine having easy conversations or traveling and understanding everything.
We're nailing that job interview in English. Really get into the details. What does it feel like? What do you hear? Feel that confidence, that satisfaction.
Our source even walks you through a little exercise. Take a moment, close your eyes maybe, and just imagine speaking English effortlessly. Hear the words flow. Feel that sense of accomplishment.
It might sound a bit woo-woo to some.
Maybe a little abstract.
But there's actually some interesting brain science here. Apparently, the brain doesn't always clearly distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one.
Really?
Yeah.
So imagining success can actually pave the way for it.
It can help create the neural pathways. Yeah, sort of primes your brain for success, makes you more attuned to opportunities, more likely to take the actions needed.
And it's not just about feeling good, is it? It helps keep you focused when things get tough.
Exactly. Reminds you why you're putting in the effort. Reignites motivation by connecting you back to that end goal, that feeling of success. Makes the difficult how feel more manageable.
Makes sense. Okay, so finally, the source wraps up with this really empowering message about the value of your voice.
Yes, your unique perspective, your story, your learning effort, it all matters. It's significant.
It's a reminder that this journey isn't just for you. Think about how your growing English skills could open doors, maybe even inspire other people.
The world benefits from diversity, right? Different voices, different perspectives. Your unique background expressed through English adds something valuable.
Absolutely. So
Right.
even when progress feels slow or non-existent, remember that every effort counts. Every word learned is a step. The world is actually waiting to hear what you have to say.
Keep speaking, keep learning.
And believe in yourself. Keep going.
So, if we were to boil down the key takeaways from our deep dive today, remember that feeling of wanting to quit. It often comes just before a breakthrough.
Right. The growth paradox.
Embrace one more try. See mistakes not as failures, but as learning steps. Remember Anna and through. Recognize the strength in slower, deeper learning, like David. Build that strong foundation.
Trust that breakthroughs can happen unexpectedly after consistent effort, like with Encourage.
Value every small step. Celebrate those little wins, like Maria did eventually. Track them.
Remember, struggle is normal. You're not alone. Connect with others.
Cultivate discipline for when motivation fades. Build those habits.
Use visualization to stay focused on your why and build confidence.
And finally, know that your voice, your perspective is valuable and needed.
Keep going. So here's maybe a final thought for you to ponder.
Yeah.
What's one small, concrete step you can commit to taking today, even if you're not feeling 100% motivated?
Just one small thing. Think about the ripple effect that consistent small action could have on your whole learning journey down the line.
And if these ideas resonated, maybe check back in with them now and then. They might offer some good perspective as you keep learning and growing.
That moment when you're learning something new, and for many of you, that might be English, and you just feel stuck. Like you're putting in the hours, the effort, but it's just not clicking. You're tired, maybe a little down about it.
Yeah.
And the thought of giving up feels, well, kind of understandable, doesn't it?
Totally.
If that resonates with you right now, you're exactly where you need to be.
Because that feeling of being stuck, it's something, well, everyone experiences it. And what we want to explore in this deep dive is why those feelings are actually, a normal part of learning.
Right.
And maybe more importantly, why pushing through them can be the key, the actual key to unlocking your progress.
Right. We've been looking at a really interesting video, actually, that shares some great perspectives and stories about this very thing, the ups and downs,
The whole journey.
Exactly. And why hanging in there is so crucial. So we're going to pull out some of the core ideas and practical takeaways from it, stuff to help you navigate those tricky times. Okay, so the video kicks off by looking at something that might seem a bit strange at first. This idea that when you feel like quitting, that might actually be when you're on the verge of a real breakthrough.
It's a fascinating point, isn't it? Think of it like this. That feeling of hitting a wall often signals that your brain is, actively rewiring itself.
Yeah. Okay.
It's trying to make space for the new information. It's really a sign of progress, you see, not failure.
Progress. Okay.
Yeah, the video draws this neat parallel to building muscle. After a workout, your muscles are sore.
Oh, yeah.
That discomfort, that's actually part of them getting stronger.
Okay. That makes perfect sense. So that feeling of frustration when a grammar rule just won't stick or you can't quite, grasp a new word, that's like the mental muscle ache.
Exactly. Your brain is actually working hard building those new connections.
Wow. Okay.
And the video shares this story about a learner named Mark. After about 6 months studying English consistently, he just felt like he wasn't getting anywhere. Seriously thinking about giving up.
Oh, I bet. It's a familiar feeling, I'm sure, for many people listening. You put in the time, but you don't see the results you expect. It's demoralizing.
It really is. But what's interesting in Mark's story, and the video highlights this, is just how close he was to seeing a real change.
Right.
It suggests that all that effort he'd been putting in, Even though it didn't feel like it was working.
Yeah.
It was actually laying the groundwork for what happened next.
Okay.
Just a few weeks after almost calling it quits, things started to sort of fall into place for him. Conversations got easier, speaking felt more natural.
Wow. So it wasn't wasted effort then?
Not at all. It's just a powerful reminder, isn't it? Progress isn't always this steady upward line.
No, definitely not.
You might feel like you're on a plateau, but underneath, your brain is still doing its thing, making those vital adjustments.
So if you're feeling that urge, to throw in the towel today, maybe remember, Mark.
Yeah. Remember, Mark, that frustration might just be the sign, the signal that you're about to make a big leap forward.
Okay. Good point. And building on that idea of pushing through the hard stuff, the video then talks about the power of simply trying one more time.
Yes, it really emphasizes that often success is just beyond that next attempt. It's about not letting those repeated challenges, get you down completely.
And who better to illustrate that than Thomas Edison, the light bulb story?
Exactly. Over 1,000 attempts, apparently. Can you even imagine?
It's incredible, but what's truly insightful, and the video points this out, is Edison's perspective, how he saw those attempts.
Right. They weren't failures to him. He saw them as learning experiences. He'd found, thousands of ways not to make a light bulb.
Huh. Yeah, that's one way to put it.
But each try, even the ones that didn't, work right away, gave him valuable information, moved him closer.
It really reframes how you look at setbacks, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
And the video connects this right back to the nitty-gritty of learning English, those words that trip so many of us up, like, I don't know, caterpillar or schedule or through.
Oh, through is a classic, yes. And the video shares the experience of Anna, who really, really struggled with pronouncing through.
I can relate.
Yeah, she kept getting it wrong, felt self-conscious, but instead of just avoiding the word.
Which is tempting.
Totally tempting. But she kept at it, practicing, really listening to how native speakers said it.
And did it work?
Eventually, yeah. All that consistent effort paid off. One day, the video says, she just said through correctly without even thinking about it.
That aha moment.
Exactly, that aha moment. Born from all those previous tries, even the ones that felt like mistakes at the time.
It really shows that every attempt, even if it doesn't feel right, is a step closer.
Precisely.
So what does this tell us? Don't let those pronunciation struggles or grammar mistakes make you give up. Your breakthrough could literally be just one more try away.
Keep trying.
Okay, so the video then offers a perspective that might surprise some people. It's this idea that learners who take their time, the quote-unquote slower learners, can actually end up becoming the strongest speakers.
Yeah, this really challenges that pressure we often feel, doesn't it? The pressure to learn fast.
Right. You see people picking things up quickly, and it's easy to feel like you're lagging behind if you're not, at that same speed.
You think faster must mean better.
Yeah, exactly.
But what's interesting here, the argument the video makes, is that taking your time allows for a deeper understanding, a more thorough grasp of the language.
Deeper. How so?
Well, think about it. Research kind of suggests that when learning feels slower, your brain might be doing more deliberate processing.
Okay.
Which leads to stronger connections, a more solid understanding in the long run. It's not just surface level.
Right. Makes sense.
And the video tells the story of David. He apparently spent his first year learning English, mainly focused on just absorbing it.
Absorbing, like listening and reading.
Exactly. Listening to podcasts, reading books, before he really started focusing hard on speaking.
And I guess he felt like he was moving slowly compared to others, maybe people who were trying to speak right from day one.
That's the impression, yeah.
Okay.
But that period of really immersing himself, just taking it all in, it built this incredibly solid base for him.
A strong foundation.
Precisely.
Yeah.
So when David did start speaking more actively, maybe in his second year, he spoke with apparently much greater clarity and confidence.
More than those who rushed.
Yeah, more than many who had perhaps rushed to speak from the beginning without that deep absorption phase.
Yeah.
He'd really taken time with the grammar, the vocab, the sentence structures.
It's a great reminder that learning isn't a race. It really isn't.
No.
Focusing on building that strong foundation, even if it feels slow initially, can pay off big time later with fluency and confidence.
Absolutely. So if you feel like you're a slow learner, maybe reframe that. Don't be discouraged.
Yeah, maybe it just means you're building something more resilient, more deeply understood.
Exactly, something solid.
Okay. The video next looks at those sudden moments. when things just click.
Yes. The unexpected breakthrough, that moment when something you've been wrestling with,
Yeah.
suddenly it just makes perfect sense.
Yeah. The video shares a personal story, actually, about grappling with the word encourage.
Mm-hmm.
For ages, apparently. Hearing it, looking it up, trying to use it, but it just wouldn't stick. Do you relate to that? A word just refusing to, like, settle in your brain?
Oh, absolutely. It's a really common thing in language learning, isn't it?
Mhm.
Some word or grammar point just feels slippery, elusive.
Totally. So what happened with encourage?
Well, what's interesting in the anecdote is that the breakthrough didn't come from, like, more flashcards or drills.
No.
No, it came unexpectedly while listening to a podcast, actually.
Just out of the blue.
Kind of. Suddenly, the meaning, the pronunciation,
Yeah.
how it fit in the sentence, everything just clicked into place.
Wow. Like all that previous effort, even the frustrating bits?
Exactly. Even when it didn't feel like it was working at the time, it had been quietly building up in the background, preparing for that moment of clarity.
That's a key takeaway then. Progress isn't always visible day to day.
No, definitely not. But that doesn't mean it's not happening. All those little efforts, listening, reading, trying things out, they're accumulating.
Building up.
Yeah, building up. And they can lead to these sudden leaps in understanding. So if you're feeling stuck on something specific right now,
Yeah.
remember that. A breakthrough might be closer than you think. Just keep feeding your brain.
Keep feeding the brain. I like that. Okay. Our source material then really emphasizes the importance of acknowledging the small victories.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It points out that every step forward, no matter how tiny it seems, is still progress. It's moving you forward.
It uses a nice analogy, actually, like walking up a staircase where the steps are so small you barely notice each one, but each one still gets you higher up.
That's so important for keeping your motivation going, isn't it? Because if you're only focused on that huge, far-off goal, like total fluency.
Yeah, it can feel overwhelming, impossible sometimes.
Right. So the video really stresses noticing and, importantly, celebrating those smaller wins.
Like what kind of wins?
Oh, learning a new phrase and actually using it. Finally understanding a sentence you've heard loads of times before. Feeling just a tiny bit more confident speaking than last week.
Those little things?
Those little things, they add up. The video shares the story of Maria, who felt like she wasn't improving much.
Even though she probably was.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even though, objectively, she was learning new words, feeling a bit more comfortable. But it didn't feel like huge progress to her.
Until she looked back.
Yeah, perhaps when she actually stopped and thought about it, or maybe tracked it somehow, it became clear she had made significant progress.
So keeping track could actually help, like writing things down.
Definitely. Keeping track of those small wins can make a massive difference. Writing them down, just acknowledging them mentally, it gives you tangible proof.
Proof that you are moving forward.
Exactly. Proof of how far you've come. And that helps keep you motivated. The example they use is finally understanding the word beautiful.
Right. Might seem small.
It might seem like a small thing, but it's a concrete sign. Your brain is making connections. You are growing.
So don't dismiss those seemingly insignificant achievements.
Not at all. They fuel the journey. They add up and keep you moving.
Got it. The video then touches on something else. That feeling that many learners get, like they're the only one finding it this hard.
Yes. It tackles that feeling of being alone in the struggle. That thought, why is this so difficult for me when it seems easier for everyone else?
Yeah, that's a common trap to fall into.
And the video makes a really crucial point. Everyone faces challenges when learning a new language. It's universal.
Even native speakers.
Absolutely. Even native English speakers run into language difficulties. Maybe understanding different accents, keeping up with slang, or even just, the weird complexities of English grammar.
That's true.
There's an anecdote in there about a native English speaker moving somewhere new and struggling to understand the local accent.
It really highlights that difficulty is just normal. It's part of the process.
Exactly. It's not a reflection of your personal ability or intelligence.
And the video then stresses the power of connection. Connecting with other learners.
Yeah, sharing your frustrations, but also celebrating your successes together. Finding your people.
Your tribe.
Your language learning tribe. Whether it's, online forums, social media groups, language exchange apps.
Yeah.
Finding that community can make a huge difference.
Having people who get it.
Totally. The personal experience shared in the video about practicing with a small group really shows the value of that shared journey. Mutual support. Navigating the ups and downs together.
So the message is, You're definitely not on this journey by yourself. Reach out.
Please do. Okay, our source material next shifts focus a bit to something really crucial for the long haul.
Discipline.
Ah, yes. Chapter 7, looking at motivation versus discipline. We all have those bursts of excitement, right? Really pumped up to learn.
Oh, yeah. New notebooks, new app subscription.
Exactly. But as the video points out, that kind of motivation, it's a bit like a roller coaster. It goes up.
It definitely comes down.
That's where discipline comes in.
Right. The video defines discipline as your ability to just keep going, even when that initial buzz has faded.
Showing up consistently.
Showing up consistently. Committing to your learning even on the days you really, really don't feel like it. And there's a personal story in the video about this too.
Yeah, about studying English every single day, even when tired, even when unmotivated. And just how those consistent small actions, they are what ultimately lead to progress.
Even when you're not feeling particularly inspired in the moment.
Especially then, maybe. The video offers some practical advice, too, for building that discipline muscle. Things like setting a specific time for study, making it a routine, and also being kind to yourself when motivation does dip.
Ah, not beating yourself up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe just focusing on small, manageable tasks on those off days. It's a reminder that even doing a little something, 5 minutes of vocab, listening to a short podcast, it's much better than doing nothing at all.
Discipline is the engine then. Motivation is maybe the fuel, but discipline keeps the engine running.
That's a great way to put it. Discipline is the engine that keeps you moving forward over the long haul.
Okay. The video then introduces a really powerful mental tool.
Chapter 8 explores visualization.
The technique of imagining yourself successfully reaching your goals, it might sound a bit, I don't know, abstract.
It can sound a bit out there, maybe, but the video argues it can be incredibly effective. Really practical, actually.
How does it suggest using it?
Well, it walks you through a brief exercise, picturing yourself speaking fluent English in different situations.
Like actually seeing it in your mind.
Yeah, vividly. Having conversations, maybe traveling, perhaps nailing a job interview in English. Creating a really clear mental picture of your success.
And how does that help? Just wishful thinking.
Well, the explanation's pretty interesting. The video suggests our brains don't always fully tell the difference between something you vividly imagine and a real experience.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
no.
by visualizing yourself succeeding, you start to genuinely believe it's possible. And that belief, that feeling, it can actually drive you to take the actions needed to make it real.
It primes your brain for success.
Kind of. Plus, visualization can be a great way to recharge your motivation when you are feeling frustrated.
How so?
By focusing on that desired outcome, that clear image of yourself speaking confidently, you reconnect with your why you started this in the first place. It can give you that determination boost to keep going.
Okay, that makes sense. Focusing on the positive outcome.
Exactly.
And finally, the video wraps up with a really, empowering message.
It does. Chapter 9 is all about the value of your own voice, your
Yeah.
unique perspective.
It emphasizes that your thoughts, your experiences, your stories, they matter right now. Even if your English isn't, perfect.
Whatever perfect even means. The video encourages you, the listener, to persevere. It highlights that you might be closer than you think to making a meaningful impact just by sharing who you are.
And that your own learning journey could actually inspire other people too.
Absolutely. It's such an important point that perfect English isn't a requirement for having valuable things to say or for connecting deeply with people.
The message is just keep speaking, keep learning, have confidence in your ability to communicate, imperfections and all.
Keep showing up. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the video's insights, the core message really boils down to this. Don't give up. Progress in learning, just like in so many parts of life, often happens just when you feel like you've absolutely hit a wall. That feeling might mean you're right on the edge of something great.
Right on the edge. And on that thought, we'll leave you with the question that the video itself poses.
Yeah.
What is one thing you are not giving up on?
Ooh, that's a good one.
It's definitely something worth taking a moment to think about.